Wire coming in is only a basic wire the same size as a domestic house. It's single phase because the guys that were doing it didn't know that they thought they were dealing with the colonial government and they didn't want any complication of three phase or anything. It's just a meter box in the main panel. Now, the sign hasn't gone a bit fat.
No, pretty careful about that.
That's the frequency meter, and there's our input voltage is slightly over 250, and it's using stuff all. Okay, have a look around the corner here. This previously was a battery room which was loaded with the big PMG type cells, you know, the big old really heavy cells, and I can't remember, but I think it made up approximately 50 something volts. But halfway along it was a tap for I think 14 volts to drive the motor at the top. Now over here there was another small motor, and the small motor had a high frequency generator close coupled to it, and that high frequency generator had a rectangular copper bar that went up to the radar, and what was clever was that the electricity travelled out and back on the same bar. Yeah. Now this is an old Southern Cross emergency generator, and when we did it, it was miles ahead of anybody else, because what happened when it started, we had to have the oil load pressure overridden for the starting time because it wouldn't start if it had low oil pressure. So we did that, and then we also put it had another thing, and this is really important, that when it started, it ran for about an hour in a lot of places, and the classic example was just after we'd done this, the big main roads building in Brisbane. They had a guy that went and checked the emergency generator every week, and they were really, really proud of it. It used to start up all the time, and then one day the power went off and the generator started up and everybody was happy. Then the power came back on and the generator cut out. The generator started again when the power cut out, and that happened a couple of times, and then it wouldn't start the last time. So they had to evacuate the whole building, close down all the computers and do everything. And so that's why we made this to run for an hour. And it doesn't do a motor any good to just start and then get turned off. And there was a battery bank here that they used to replace the batteries for starting this all the time. It was terribly essential. And to keep the power going. So that would also charge the batteries when the mains power wasn't charging. And then if they weren't getting mains power and they started to have problems with this, it used to shut the light down bit by bit. So the light would still be available within a week of the power going off, which is really quite... This was written up in books all over the world, but no one here was interested because they couldn't understand what it was about. You know? Everybody, I'm Bob Deakin, and I'm a long-time resident of Caloundra, and I'm so old that I've wired heritage buildings, which amongst them is this lighthouse.
It was interesting to get it on the Queensland Heritage List, it being a 1968 building.
I did Torbrek.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't do the wire, I did the finishing off there, but what for old Audrey Job?
Yes.
Good bloke, I did his houses.
It just won the award at the Institute of Architects for enduring architecture.
Oh, you're an architect too, are you?
No, I'm just an advisor to architects.
Oh, right.
It tells us what to do.
And Torbrek were really interested in building, before they had cranes and things, they built the top floor on the ground and jacked it and put another floor underneath it, another floor underneath it. I did a lot of finishing off work there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So to buy into Torbrek, you've got to go before the committee, and they've got to accept you before you're allowed to purchase.
What a great way to, it's the way the whole world should be.
Craftsman's built it, didn't they?
Yeah. He had a double unit there, and Mr. Foote was the greatest guy in the world.
He was the Mount Isa Mines bloke.
That's him, This was fairly unusual, and it was a lighthouse built in the heart of a town. where you could go and get a hamburger or have it go home, or whereas against something that was out in the wild, see? So we wired it, and we did the initial maintenance period thing. And it was the only light in Australia that had never been off in the years that we did it, because it was brand new and everything. It was a tenth the cost of the next one, and of all that, it was the only one done by a private contractor. And that had questions asked in Parliament, and we lost the contract over that. And so they used to send two guys up from Brisbane to do work here, and when they couldn't work out what it was, they would come and see me and I would do it for them and charge them, and then that would go off again. It was awkward to build, really awkward to build, you know. Yeah. Plus, up on the top here one time, before anybody had ever heard of them, they had a laser which went down on the passage. The laser that went down the passage and cut through the masts of the ship so they could keep the dredge dead in line. And we had to fix it one time because there was a cyclone on it and it moved a bit, and we got up there in a cyclone and straightened it up. Yeah. Really quite clever. The fella who built Argar was the people that built the light, and he reckoned they wouldn't have any trouble. It was guaranteed 100 years. You know, it was so good the way it was done. Is the pedestal still there?
No.
All right. Well, with
You guys go up.
with the pedestal, what I wanted to show in that, the motor had four. It was two motors, and you could pull apart one section out of one motor while it was running. You used to take the load up with the thing, and so you could take that part away and do something to it, and then put it back in and take a part out of the other motor. It's brilliant. It was brilliant, you know. Yeah. And it ran on a plate of mercury, big plate of mercury.
Okay.
But
We've
what I
probably
was going to
got
show
a drawing of it there.
which was on the wall. There was a big cast box like this that had inside it a little transistor circuit about the size of this, And the guy said, I said, why the hell do you need a box? It's an atomic bomb-proof box off a battleship. And he said, again, the same thing, because we're selling it to a colonial government, it's got to look like it's something. They said they could have put it in a little. Oh, I thought that was great. You know? And he was a self-taught electrical person, and he also designed some of the computers for landing the first Viscount aircraft. You remember the old Vickers Viscount, the 4 engines, the turbo?
No, not.
No, but they had them landing and doing all wonderful things without the use of the pilot. Yeah? The guy was brilliant. And we used to, he reckoned that to have a lighthouse being built where he could go and buy a hamburger down the town was so good.
I bet, yeah.
Let's have a look at